Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of the Pritchard Cycling News Show. Got a bit of indoor cycling news to talk about, got a bit of outdoor cycling news to talk about, but before we do any of that, I just want to say a massive congratulations to Phil Lovett over at Bike Racing Without Mercy. Just hit 1,000 subscribers. Yay! Now Phil has had his channel for 368 days now, and he almost hit 1,000 subs within a year, which is massive. So congratulations, Phil. It's a channel I've been working closely with over the past couple of months, and it's nice to have seen him grow. It's nice to have seen him develop his style in front of the camera and what he's actually filming and his progression through cycling. If you don't know Phil's story, I'm not going to bore you with it. It's not boring. I'm just not going to bore you with it here. Link down in the description to his channel. Go and check it out. One of his most recent videos is how he built his FTP up. Link down in the description. Go and check out that video. Go and subscribe to the channel. Tell him I said hello. And hopefully this is the first of many thousand subscribers to the channel. So congratulations, Phil. All right, and first up, let's talk about indoor cycling news. Now, you might have seen it over the past couple of days. The Tour for All over on Zwift. The pro races have been taking place. So we've seen the likes of Roubaix with the digital Tour de Suisse, the 5-day stage there. Be Cool hosted the virtual Tour of Flanders. And like I said last week in the show, it's Zwift's turn now. They've got 5 stages of pro racing for both men and women. 2 stages already down. Let's take a look at those bloody highlights. All right, so stage 1 was Innsbruck, around the Innsbruck ring. It was 6 laps in total. And in terms of teams, we saw Alpecin Fenix, Bahrain McLaren, CCC, Cofidis, Mitchelton Scott, Israel Startup Nation, FDJ, Education First Pro Cycling, NTT, and Rally Cycling. And then over in the women's, we saw Bols Dolman, Canyon SRAM, CCC again, Rally Cycling again, FDJ again, Drops, Tibco Silicon Valley Bank, 2020, and Valcar Travel and Service. As you'll note there, 0 community teams. This was all about the professionals. So as you'd expect with professionals racing on Zwift, a lot of them still are a little untoo sure as to what to expect in a Zwift race. But as it's happened in the past, Mathieu van der Poel only a few weeks ago, big names getting dropped straight away. As you can see, there was a split in the peloton within the first blooming lap. Within 10 minutes of racing, you could see that the majority of riders were in that bike group, such is the horrible pace of a Zwift race. Coming to the final kilometre, we had about a group of 10 after 6 laps, an hour and 15 minutes of racing. Ludwig took the initiative up with a K to go, but then boom, look at that. Only one rider out of 3 using a power-up. Do they not know about them? Did they use them too early? Who knows? Did Marianne Vos even need that power-up? But she took the victory in the first race. But this is a team event. But even though Marianne Vos came first, it was actually Canyon SRAM who take the lead in the team results. Tibco Silicon Valley Bank. And as you can see there, CCC Live all the way down in 7th, even though Marianne Vos ended up winning that race. Over in the men's, you can see power-ups being used here, there and everywhere. Mathieu van der Poel's in this race, and same as with the women's, as the men's, lots of people getting dropped, lots of people getting thrown out the bike, and eventually the group was whittled down. And during the 4th lap, we were down to, what, maybe 15 riders there. Alex Richardson tried to take off up the road. He got a fairly sizable gap at one point, but unfortunately, there you go, you can see that gap there. That's about, yeah, 6 seconds there. They all managed to catch him eventually. Fred Wright tried to go off the front. Now, he should know better than that, and look at that, he got bloody swamped with about 400 metres to go. A few more power-ups being used here. Ghost, absolutely useless. The rally cyclist there, and again, one rider using the aero. Come on, guys. How hard is it? The only person with a power-up there. Look at the gap he puts into him as well. So Steve Ovet's son, Freddie Ovet, could be, I don't know really, but Ovet ended up winning. Let's head over to stage 2, which was over in Richmond. So here we are in Richmond. In my opinion, I think Richmond is the best course for racing on Zwift. Jimmy Whelan on the attack at some point, but then essentially there was a group of about 20 riders on the 3rd lap, half an hour into the race. That started to whittle its way down, and on the final lap, we saw an amazing attack from Michael Valgren. Looked like he was going to stay away, but unfortunately not. Greg Van Avermaet towed him back up that final climb, and it looked like Van Avermaet was going to get it. Again, another rider using a power-up towards the end, and Gürgel Gürgel ended up taking that 2 seconds ahead of Greg Van Avermaet. Mathieu van der Poel riding for the second day in a row. 4.8 watts a kilo in third place. As you can see there, the standings, NTT Pro Cycling are in bloody lead. Over in the women's race, this was pretty much dominated by Ashley Moolman-Pasio. And you can see from that shot there just how attritional a Zwift race is. Once again, just like the men's, it whittled its way down to a group of maybe 10, 15 riders. Old Faulkner here, she tried to go away on her own. I'll tell you now, she ain't going to get away with that. Ain't no way she's going to stay away. Look at that, 25 seconds coming up to the final lap. Pulled it right back. Again, those hills just annihilate people who are out on their own. And then look at that. Boom, once again, a feather being used. And look what a power-up can do on Zwift. A lot of people don't like them, but they're there and they're being used efficiently by the people who know how to bloody ride a Zwift race. Moolman-Pasio ended up winning by almost 7 seconds. Vossi finished in third. Tibco, Silicon Valley Bank, leading the way. And then CCC Liv made the way up into second spot. Today's race, I can't remember where it's from. There's a screenshot that'll tell you. So that's where it's from today. Oosh. So there you go. 2 stages down, 3 to go at the Tour for All Professionals race. I guess that's what you call it. What do you think to it? It's, currently, right, it is the only live sporting event that you can watch on Eurosport. It's the only thing you can watch. So, I mean, I'd love to be green to all this. I'd love to be just a general sports fan, looking on Eurosport, seeing what sports are on, coming across this live event, going, hey, oh, what's this? I'd love to experience what they experience when they see it for the first time. Do they get engaged by it? Do they enjoy it? Do they think, what the hell's going on? Or is it simple to actually pick up and go, oh, this is a virtual race. That guy down in the bottom corner there, he's racing and turning his wheels, and his wheels are turning, or his kicker's turning, or whatever smart trainer he's got, that's moving his avatar. So it's a virtual race. Is it that easy to understand? I don't know. But honestly, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I'm a little bit too invested to really get an idea of whether this is good or not. I was hoping for more production quality from the fact that it's being broadcast live on Eurosport. I mean, the production quality certainly has improved over a standard YouTube Zwift stream, but still, it still feels like it's just... There were moments, you know, when the rider is the centre of attention and not necessarily the game. And I think that's one thing that's just letting them down at the minute. Me and Cam spoke about this in the podcast last week, about how you look at any other kind of gaming esport, and the game's developed, the game's produced, and it's sent out on its way, and people do whatever they want. Third parties organise their own events. People can go online and stream it themselves and pretty much set up their own tournaments, set up their own games, get involved in public games. The world's your oyster when it comes to that. But with Zwift, it feels like that they're trying to control it. So for instance, if I wanted to set up a race, I wanted to set up my own race series, it wouldn't be as simple as going on, organising my own race series on my own server, or however it might work, and then being able to invite people, potentially invite third-party sponsors in, and trying to create something out of it. You've got to go to Zwift. You've got to get Zwift say-so to actually organise an event, and I feel that that's where they're kind of dropping the ball a little bit. But ultimately, you know, they've got to promote, and they feel like for some reason they need to protect that. For whatever reason, I don't know. But anyway, let me know. Tour for All professional races. Are you enjoying them, or are they still missing that little bit of magic that still hasn't been found? Next up, in a story we spoke about on Monday, it was the revision of the UCI World Tour calendar. There has been kind of an official announcement, but this still is tentative at best. I'll give you my opinion on it shortly, but let's take a look at what the UCI published yesterday, which is essentially the 2020 cycling season, really. So let's look at the men's events first. So as you can see, the month of August pretty much stays the same as it was when we first looked at it. So Strade Bianche kicking off essentially this crammed season towards the end of the year. And then let's take a look at the one-day races first in August. So following that, the following week, Milan-San Remo, like we spoke about. Added in there has been the Prudential Ride London Surrey Classic. Then you've got Bretagne Classic, and then looking at those stage races, Tour of Poland, like we said at the start, and Criterium de Dauphiné. Then the week after that, you've got National Championships, followed by the European Championships, and then the big one. The Tour de France kicks off Grand Tour season at the end of August, all the way through to essentially the middle of November. But Tour de France is the first Grand Tour up. In the middle of that, though, you've got Treno Adriatico. You've got 2 one-day races over in Canada. So then while those 2 events and the Treno Adriatico was going off, you've got 21 stages of the Tour de France. The last day of the Tour de France, when the riders are riding around the Champs-Élysées, the UCI Road World Championships will start. Obviously, the first day is normally junior races, junior time trials, things like that. So the big guns and the elites won't really start towards the end of the week. So there'll be plenty of time for people who have been to the Tour, get a couple of days rest. After the Road Race World Championships, you've got the Big Bank Tour. You've also got Flèche Wallonne right at the end of September. The start of October is a busy month. First up, we have the Giro d'Italia. That takes up the majority of October. And as you can see, La Vuelta is going to overlap with that last week of the Giro. But right in the middle there, you can see all those one-day classics. Liège-Bastogne-Liège, Amstel Gold, Ghent-Wevelgem, Tours de Vlaanderen, Tour of Flanders, Depan, the big one, Paris-Roubaix and Lombardia right at the end of October. Moving into November, we see the final week of La Vuelta. Now let's have a look at the women's. And then here is the UCI Women's World Tour. And as you can see, starts off the same vein as the men's in Strade Bianche. Women then go to Sweden for the Post-Nord UCI Women's World Tour Team Time Trial and then road race the following day. You've got the Ladies Tour of Norway, Plouay, La Course by Le Tour de France, which is obviously going to be held in Nice, I presume, because it's the first day of the men's Tour de France. You've got the Nationals and European Championships. As with the men, September, you've got the Bulls Ladies Tour. You've got Giro d'Italia Internazionale Femminile. Nailed it. UCI Road Race World Championship, same time as the men, obviously, and Flèche Wallonne. And then in October for the ladies, whereas the men have got 2 Grand Tours to deal with, the ladies only have the classics to deal with. Liège-Bastogne-Liège, same as the men. Amstel Gold, Ghent-Wevelgem, Tour of Flanders, Depan, Tour de Chuanghui, which I don't think we mentioned in the men's. I've nailed that pronunciation, don't worry about it. Tour of Chongming Island, also at the end of October for the ladies. And then in November, 3 days of the Madrid Challenge by La Vuelta at the end of the men's Grand Tour. The big one though, you might have noticed I missed it, for good reason. The Paris-Roubaix for the ladies, 25th of October, it's going to go off. Originally penned for 2021 was the women's Paris-Roubaix. They've obviously just brought it forward, technically a few months really, but they brought it into the 2020 season. So we're going to see, or are we? So this is the question. Potentially we could be seeing a Paris-Roubaix for the women. But ultimately I want to know, do you think this is going to go ahead? Do you think any of these plans are going to go ahead? Do you think this is just a bit of smoke and mirrors from the UCI to appear like they're doing something, to appease sponsors, race organisers, just predominantly to say, 1, there's a bit of optimism that we're going to get things back on track, and 2, the show is going on, don't worry. But really they're going, we're going to have to scrap all this. I don't know. Like, let me know your thoughts down below. This is my thinking, right? So according to the news, there's going to be another wave of this virus at some point in the near future. And if the governments have relaxed their lockdown procedures to a point where people are free to go and watch the races, be part of the races, and a couple of those have either not been exposed to it or get exposed to it on their way to the race, and then they contaminate God knows how many people. Look at the calendar, right? So we start in Strade Bianche. 1 person, 2 people has it. They spread it around a few journalists when they're shaking hands, when they're coughing, when they're receiving their prizes on the podium, whatever it might be. They then go off to their various races. Journalists go off to a different race. So you've got riders heading off to Poland, some heading off to Milan-San Remo, bit more of a spread of the disease there. Then they head to France for the Criterium de Dauphiné. They head over to London for the Prudential Ride London. Before you know it, some people have visited 4 different countries and potentially spread the disease around. Then after that, they all head back to their own nation's national championships. There's too many moving parts. There's too many people involved in a cycling race. You couldn't just what's the bare minimum you need? Riders and commissaires. But then that race doesn't get televised anywhere. So then you need people to run the TV cameras and be part of that. And then all of a sudden you've got a massive moving circus of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people all making it work. I just can't see how it can happen. And then that's not even talking about the Tour de France and the amount of people that come from all over the world, and especially because we've had zero cycling for the past couple of months, people are going to want to see it. They're going to want to be up close and personal and see it. So there's no way the ASO can ban people from watching at the side of the road. It cannot happen. And even if they do, they will not stop people from doing it. So my humble opinion would be to say, let's just leave it. Let's just draw a line under 2020. There's no pressure on anybody. And I know there's money involved, there's jobs involved, there's people's livelihoods involved. I understand that. I haven't got an answer for that. But if drawing a line under 2020 allows some young kid to see their grandparents for a few more years because they don't end up contracting the virus because someone goes and watches the Tour de France, contracts it, goes back, visits them, gives it them, then they die. I'm up for that. I don't mind. I'd rather not see no racing and know that a few kids and families still have their loved ones around rather than watch Egan Bernal win another Tour de France. I mean, I'm no doctor. I could be completely wrong with this. The virus could just disappear. It's not going to disappear, is it? But we may get a vaccine between now and then that allows us to pretty much eradicate it before August. Other than that, I can't see how it'd go ahead. So it's over to you guys. What do you think is going to happen? I know I've asked this quite a few times now. The majority of you say that there's going to be no racing. But I'm up for that. I don't mind. I don't want it to happen. And I would love nothing more than to go to France and be part of the Tour de France and go and watch it again. It's a life-changing experience, but so's contracting a virus and dying, so leave your comments down below and let me know. And then finally, real quick in the news, check out this brand new cycling shoe from Nike. And I know what you're thinking. At first glance, it's not a cycling shoe, it's a bloody football boot. No, it's not. It's Nike's brand new Super Rep cycling shoe. Specifically built for indoors, Nike said the upper is made of some translucid mesh. I mean, it still looks like a football boot, even when you say it's got translucid mesh on it. But obviously it's designed to keep your foot cooler during indoor cycling. So they made it for like the spinning and the peloton kind of industry, really, rather than, I guess, proper cyclists who put some big efforts out on bikes, because they look bloody flimsy to me, them. They don't look very stiff in the sole. But obviously you can see on the bottom, you can put standard 3-bolt cleats or standard 2-bolt cleats in there. No price on that as yet. Available from the 1st of June, according to Nike. I'm going to try and blag myself a set of them, because I have noticed, especially when it starts getting warmer in here, that my feet do overheat. It's not the be all and end all. I'd rather overheat in my feet than in my head. But still, it's nice to be able to get some circulation of air through those feet and not feel like you're pedaling in a sweaty puddle. Anyway, that's your news for today. Make sure you leave your comments down below about all the subjects that we've covered today. If you've not done already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you've not enjoyed today's video for whatever reason, hit that dislike button. If you've enjoyed it, hit that like button. But above all, enjoy yourselves, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Beijo.